Can you see it? Can you see it? I don't think so. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing another palette roast. You guys know that I purchase palettes that I want to use, that I want to review, that I think I will get a lot of use out in my collection. I don't buy these things thinking they're going to be terrible, thinking I'm going to have to do this. I put my faith and my trust in the company to be able to get their formulas right. And as a result, we have been burned a couple times, and well, I guess we're just gonna add another one to the collection. This is the Lime Crime Venus XL2. When I saw this, I was like, yes, I had to wear this wig because we be twinning. And I'm like, green is a color story I've been hoping that we were jumping on that bandwagon for. So when I saw this, I was like, green and peaches and soft pinks. I am down. I am down. The palette is $58, currently available on Lime Crime site. I am pretty sure that it will eventually make its way to Ulta, where Lime Crime is also sold. I assume that it is not limited edition, as it is another installment in that Venus whatever going on, and all of those ones have been permanent. The packaging is beautiful. I love this whole Botticelli Birth of Venus thing going on, and switching up the hair and doing the color and everything, and it's great. But this palette suffers from, like, you look at it and you're like, look at those colors, they look so beautiful and vibrant and fun. And then you open the palette, and it's kind of like, wah, wah, wah. Now, don't get me wrong. These colors are beautiful. I love the kind of deeper, pinky, burnt rust thing going on here. But when you slap on a cover of the palette that looks like this, and then the insides look like this, it's not the same color story. This is what I am wearing on my disappointed peepers today. I don't know if you guys can see how terribly unblended and patchy and non-pigmented this is. We will get to that in a moment. But for starters, let's just swatch this bad boy and then, yeah! I apologize, the camera angle is going to be wonky because we're still dealing with the whole, like, don't have a tripod. So let's start off with the swatches. Now, firstly, let me get into it firstly. You guys know that I am not necessarily newly, but I am a big advocate for matte shades. The matte shades, as I keep saying, are the backbone of a palette. And in this palette, you get 5, count them, 5 matte shades out of an 18 pan palette. Now, I would have been maybe a little bit less like about that if it were like 8 to 10, 8 mattes and, you know, 10 shimmers, but even that's pushing it for me because getting a little ahead of myself, because a lot of people do not like doing all shimmer eye looks, and also shimmers have to perform a certain way if you are going to do an all shimmer eye look. So this is already hurting itself by giving it like a weird demographic that it's marketing to by not having a lot of mattes. But we'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start off with like the swatchy thing. We have In Bloom right here, which is what I attempted to use after starting off with this obscure shade here. And we got In Bloom. They are very powdery, not unlike, say, you know, Lorac or Kat Von D or other shades that we know can be a bit powdery. Then we have Crown right here. And the shimmers, oh my goodness, let me not get ahead of myself again. And we have Sage, which is what I attempted to use after using In Bloom. And then we have Thorn right here. So you're having technical difficulties, but let me show you. That looks heckin' pigmented. Look at that bad boy. And then we have a shimmer that's kind of like, kind of there. Then we've got this green one, which is kind of like, and then we have this shimmer here, which is a little bit better than the first one. All right, then we're gonna go into Ripe right here, which is just a nice brown. Then we have Forbidden, which is much smoother feeling than the other two. Then we have Stella, which also feels very smooth, and Myth, which is what I have on the inner part of my eye today. Here we go. Once again, looks pretty pigmented. This shimmer is far superior to the first two. Then we have that little bad boy, and then this one right there. Can you see it? Can you see it? I don't think so. Next up we have Eve right here, which is a really pretty pinky one. Then we have Laurel right here, which is another nice green one. Then Radiant, which is just a white kind of duochrome thing. And then Ivy, which was probably what I should have put. In the area. Let's see if we can do this. Got that one. She looks kind of nice. This one, that looks kind of nice. That one, I mean, and then this one right there. Going into the last row, we're actually going to switch up our arms here. Let's see if I can, okay, it will bend back all the way. All right, we have Classical right here. It is so hard, I must admit, it's hard to swatch when you've got talons like this. And then Locust, which, oh my goodness, let's see here, going on right here. Then we've got Phoenix, which is probably one of the best shimmers in the palette. And then Mystic right here. Apologize for the head being cut off, but dealing with this whole whatever going on here, it's not a good situation. But here we have this one, once again, looking heckin' pigmented. Then we have that one there, and then this is that Phoenix shade, which I said is probably one of the best mattes out of the whole ding dang palette. And then that shade. Then last but not least, we have got Obscure right here, which is it's what I started out with on my eye because I thought it was just like a really pretty light green starting shade. And then last but not least is West. And here we'll have this one, which, yeah, that about sums it up. And then this one right here. So here we have the lovely swatchies going on right here, obviously dominated by shimmers. Some of the mattes look nice and pigmented. This one is probably the best matte out of the palette. If you see, this one looks pigmented, but it is very patchy and streaky. This matte is just a joke. This one's pretty good, but it's not like it's something I don't already own. I also just noticed something while looking at the swatches on my hands. The shade Forbidden and Phoenix, if you place them like that, they look pretty ding dang similar. So we've got the swatches. Let's just now proceed into a good old-fashioned, good-hearted roast. Alright, so first things first. I know this is a con that I discussed in the Venus XL original palette. $58 is a pretty hefty price for a palette. When you've got ones that are from Tarte and Urban Decay and even Too Faced that are kind of in the $39, $45 range, when you slap a $58 tag where it's gonna be like more than $60 come shipping and all of that jazz, tax, it's just kind of like, okay, it's just an awkward, not friendly price point. The next thing, which we already did discuss a little bit, is the deceiving packaging where it's like, oh, look, bright and vibrant and fantastical. And then you have it inside where it's like, more like we're gonna take the saturation down a bit. And I'm not saying it's not a pretty color scheme. I like this color scheme. I'm into the burnt, grungy, 90s, whateverness going on. But when you are tagging it to look like this, and this is the first image people have of the palette, they get a certain perception that is then totally blown away when you look at the actual insides. Now, all of that could be forgiven to an extent, but let's talk about the real reason I am angry at this palette. This palette is called, it was like, ooh, earthy, grungy, whatever, and it does have that, but when you give 5, I just realized we ain't even getting 5. We're getting 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, count them, 4 blinking mattes, which means you are left with 14 shimmer shades. And when you do a palette that is 95% shimmer, it behooves you to make the shimmer formula good, or at least decent. This shimmer formula is hideously inconsistent. I am aware that the shimmer formula in the original XL is a little bit softer, a little bit less ka-cha. It is a good beginner person shimmer formula. But these shimmers were just all over the place. From like this one, it barely shows up at all. It's just a faint little on the eyes. I tried wetting it. That didn't work out well. And you see this shade here. You see the shade and you're like, oh, that's a really pretty color. Well, that's what I started with, and you can kind of see it there. But as I'm blending, it's more just like powder dissipating into the atmosphere. And then you can see, like, the shadows wouldn't stack on each other. They wouldn't blend into each other. So I'm left with this horrible, nasty, muddy, streaky mess. And the frustrating thing is that you do have some good color stories in the shimmers to do all shimmer looks. I've done all shimmer looks with Urban Decay and Kat Von D, and if it's a good formula, they'll work really well together. You use more of a patting and less of a blending motion, and so you've got this beautiful green that would go nicely into here. You could even start with this and then add some shimmer on there. You've got some nice pinks that would go beautifully together and then deepen them up with a bronze or a brown. But it comes back to the fact that these shimmers, they don't play well, period, and then they don't play well with each other. You like start with one and you're like, okay, all right, that's kind of pretty. Time to deepen it up, time to add a little excitement. And you go to do the thing and it just kind of, you're like, all right, where's the pigmentation? Where's the shimmer? Where's the adherence? And then the fact that some of the shimmer shades are just, they're just faint. They're like non-existent. Like you look in there, Ivy and Myth, Obscure, Stella, they're just kind of just, and it's, a non-pigmented shimmer, especially in a 95% shimmer palette, is so frustrating. It's like, did you think this through? I don't think so. I don't think y'all paid attention to nothing. And once again, for $58, you would think that they could at least have a consistent formula to the first one. There is no consistency. This is a like Russian roulette palette. This is the epitome of Jesus take the wheel and hope to high heaven that you get something that looks okay. So there are many things counting against this. The fact that it is $58. You can't have a consistent formula. There are only 4 mattes in an 18 shade palette. I know that is personal preference. And then the fact that the shimmers they do give you are crap quality and inconsistent, and they don't work well either alone or on their own. So it's just like, this was hideously disappointing. I absolutely love the first one. It is not hideously pigmented. You can build it up though. The shimmers are very nice, easy to work with. And then you just get this and you're like, what happened? Did the factory blow up? I just really hate and resent the fact that makeup companies today, any company, you cannot rely on any amount of consistency from any of them. If you love one thing and then they release another, God only knows if it's going to be good. But that is that roast. Probably not nearly as bad as my Kat Von D one because that one was bad. But definitely let me know what you think about this palette down below. If you have it and you love it, that's fantastic. let me know how you use it, because I would absolutely love to love these colors. But let me know what you think about it. I know y'all enjoy a good old-fashioned roast. Like any roast, this is not something I went into intending to do. I was going to review it, and it was going to be great, and the palette would fulfill my green pinky dreams. But that's not what happened, so here we are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!